Hello traders, welcome to another video in this series of intraday analysis setups. Today's the fourth day of this week for the series, 25th of November on Thursday, again a couple of hours before the start of the New York session. So as with the previous videos, I'm just going to recap yesterday and I'm going to go through two analyses on two charts in this video for intraday setups for today. So yesterday I was looking at the Euro Aussie. Now I was looking at the market heading lower and that did not quite happen. So let's just mark out where I was yesterday. I was here and the end of the day, which is the new day, is here. And now what you can see is that the setup analysis was to go short. As I mentioned, I did not see that as a high probability setup because of the choppiness of the Euro Aussie on the higher time frame, on the daily time frame, and you can see that played out here. The market did briefly want to head lower. It went up, it almost hit the stop loss, came back down, and at this point, when it was nearing the end of the London session, this is when I scrapped the trade because it was not moving in the intended direction. So as soon as I see that, this is what I do. I close the trade off just wherever it's at. I think it was about break even at this point, and that's just a bell going off, and I saw that the probabilities were no longer in my favor because the market was just ranging. It went even higher, it broke this high, the retracement, and because I did not expect it to go so high, I saw this as an indication of the market wanting to go higher. So therefore I just closed it off right there. It was about break even, so that was a nothing lost, nothing gained on this trade. And those are little clues that can be used to know whether the trade is high probability or not. You never know what's going to happen in the market. There's always risk involved, but the fact that it bounced off and went higher instead of coming down lower was an indication for me that this was not a high probability trade, as I already expected anyway, because of the higher time frame range, which is, if you look on the daily, you can see, I think I drew it out here, on the daily the market is ranging, and we can see there's no real decision. There's wicks on both sides, so it's not clear. Therefore, probabilities are not really in our favor here. That's what I see. And when that happens, the higher time frame is the ruler of the bias. So that's what I'm basing it off. And you can see the market just wanted to push higher quite obviously here. So that's the Euro Aussie. I don't know whether you took that trade, but this will be a good lesson in analyzing the price action. Now let me have a look at the two setups that I've identified for today. Now I've got to remember one thing about today is that it is a US holiday. It's Thanksgiving, and because of that there may be less movement, less liquidity in the market. So gonna keep that in mind. And what I was looking at was, first of all, let me go to CAD yen again. Looked at, for some reason it seems to be a frequent one for this week. So what am I looking at CAD yen? Well, what I can see is that overall the market is in an upward momentum, so the flow is to the upside. That's really the preferred direction. So bearing that in mind, on the higher time frame, what I can see here is a few confluences. So if I draw a trend line like so, trend lines are not the be all and end all, but it's just giving an indication here. So I can see that the market came down and now has made this retracement, a very deep retracement, and because of that I expect some kind of pullback. May see a pullback down to this level. It may go lower still beyond these structural levels. This will be my first point of call, remembering of course that the higher time frame is to the upside, so this is going to be a short-term trade. Now the confluence here is the fact that we're hitting that trend line, the market is consolidating here, and you can see that we've now had a push lower. So it was a kind of a rejection, so it just breached the trend line. That momentum to the upside began to subside, and now you can see that push lower. So now seeing that on a lower time frame, bearing in mind the higher time frame, we've gone lower. Where do I expect it to come to if this is a actual retracement? Well, this will be the first step, and this swing point would also be a marker for me. So let me just mark that out here as a line so it makes it easier to see. Got one, and we got this swing point here, 2. Now bearing these in mind, what are we going to look for? Well, I'm going to mark the fact that, take another line here, that this high here is our reference point. And as I mark that for a reference point, you can see that the market here is beginning to range. Market has stalled. Now I'm expecting that short-term downward move to this level. So in order for me to take it, what would be nice to see would be a pullback to a better price, and then some price action, and the market to continue lower in this shorter intraday time frame. Now the nice thing about the CAD yen is that we do have US holidays, so this is not a dollar pair. However, there is yen here, which is also somewhat linked to the dollar, but because this is such a short-term intraday trade, I'm not so worried about that. What else do we have here? If I just zoom in on a lower time frame, you can see there was a move. You draw a Fibonacci here from the high to the low on this swing point, and we can see that we've got the 61 level here. So anywhere from here to here would be an entry level for a good price, and then continuing lower, and we'll be placing the stop loss above and then take profit below on that line that was marked out. So again, as with the previous trades for this week, I could wait for another lower time frame 1 minute retracement and then take it on that retracement to be safe. That is safer, but you'll need to keep monitoring and watching that if you want to take that. So again, remember, this is risk. This is not a piece of advice. This is just an analysis. If the market works out in the way that I am looking at it at the moment, and there will be this line will be the take profit point. Could extend it to here. It's only about 10 pips difference or so, so not much, but that's okay. Just it's going to be an in and out trade anyway for today, so That's about a 2-to-1 risk reward here. Not fantastic, but I don't see any other opportunities today on this US bank holiday. So that's the CAD yen here for you. It's a brief analysis of that. So I'll wait for the New York session for price action to play out. Okay. Now let me have a look at the other pair I was considering, which was the dollar CAD. Now, there's a bit of correlation going on here, because if we took CAD yen short coming down, what CAD yen is made up of is dollar CAD and dollar yen. So for dollar CAD yen to be a high probability sell, we need weakness in the CAD. So weakness in the CAD here means strength in the dollar CAD, and weakness in the CAD yen to go short means strength in the yen, which means weakness in the dollar yen. Now, these two are opposing because we have strength on the dollar here. On the one hand, we're looking for strength in the dollar, and on the other hand, we're looking for weakness in the dollar on the other hand, in order to justify or increase the probability, I should say, of the CAD yen trade. In this case, I'm just going to look at one of them and see what the market shows. So for dollar CAD, if I look at the daily picture, you can see that the market is clearly at this moment rallying higher. I expect that the next point of call will be here, so I do expect a continuation until this next swing point, at which point we'll see what happens. But with that in mind, let's see what's happening on the lower time frame. So we can see that here there is a higher, there's a movement higher, and I'm taking this as simply as a retracement. And now that I see that the market is working this level, I do expect a continuation higher, and for this to be the low. So I don't see the market going below this swing point here, and I do see that continuation higher to that next level that I drew out earlier on the higher time frame daily. You can see as well, if I draw a horizontal line on this level, you can see this so-called support resistance level was broken, now heading higher back into the higher time frame direction. Therefore, I expect this to continue higher. Now, if I go on a lower time frame still, I see the market has broken this swing point, confirming that it wants to go higher. So now we can see that this is likely a retracement. Before, I'll be looking for an entry here before the market continues on its way up. Now this is a much higher risk to reward trade, so I do like this one. The issue is here I'll need to manage the risk, because dollar CAD long and CAD yen short going down are betting on the CAD weakness. So there is, if I'm going to enter both, then I'm doubling down on one side of the CAD. So that's just to bear in mind for risk management purposes. Can draw a fib here again. So anywhere a 61.8 here would be a nice entry, but really anywhere below the halfway marker would be a nice cheap price. And then I'll have a stop loss and looking to go to that higher level. So if that's the case, then this is a very good risk to reward trade, because I've got this much risk and looking at this much reward. So that's several multiples, about I'd say 3 or 4, it looks like, maybe more. So this is another what looks like a high probability trade. The first point you can first take profit point to look out for would obviously be this obvious swing point right here, but let's see what happens. It's also possible to scale in depending on what happens with the market as the market begins to swing. But again, since this is the dollar chart and it is a bank holiday, need to watch out for this one. So let's see what happens in New York. Those are the two setups that I'm looking at for today, and depending on the price action, we'll see if there is an entry. The price action has to be favorable. Definitely some candles that push higher to the upside, and again the same thing with the CAD yen. Looking for that downside on the lower time frame, and then we'll see what happens. At the moment you can see the market has broken lower, so we'll see if we get that retracement. If the market doesn't retrace, it doesn't want to do that, then I'll just be leaving the trade aside. Okay, so good luck with your trading, and tomorrow will be the final day for the week, and let's see what we make of it. Tomorrow there may be some more interesting setups because the bank holiday will be over and the market will develop a little bit further. See you then.